Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Busy Life Podcast. My name is Julie, and today we're going to be talking about nutrition. Now, before we go into this episode, there's a couple things I want to say. First of all, I want to say that everything that is mentioned in this episode is strictly just like having a conversation, right? It's like you and I are going on a walk, and you've just got some questions, and we're going to answer them as best as you can. I want you to keep in mind, though, that that means that I am not a registered dietitian or a nutritionist. I am a certified nutrition coach, but what that really means is that I can make suggestions and I can guide you down the right path, but I'm not allowed to make a meal plan for you or tell you that there are certain foods that you must eat and certain foods that you must avoid because nutrition is individual. What works for you might not work for me. What doesn't work for you might be the best thing I've ever had. All the way down from sugar, alcohol, fruits and vegetables, allergies, all of it is so individual. Calorie counting, your goals, everything is based on what you need, what your body needs, and there is just no one right way. So I hope you enjoy the episode. I've got my best friend Shoshana on with me. And I just want you to remember that if you do need specific nutrition advice, it would be a great idea to reach out to a registered dietitian or a nutritionist, or even ask your general physician for support. So, with all of that being said, let's get into the episode. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Busy Life Podcast. My name is Julie, and today we are talking about a super requested topic, nutrition. I've got my best friend, Shoshana, here with me, and I'm going to let her introduce herself to you guys. But we are so excited to do this episode together because I have to give you a little bit of a backstory, too. When Shoshana and I were younger, we always said we would have a YouTube channel or something. So this is just the beginning of our own personal career happening. But we are so excited to talk about this. Food is life. And honestly, I'm so excited to talk about this. So you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm excited. I didn't even think about that part that we've always wanted to do YouTube together. Now we're actually recording something together. But I'm Shoshana. I'm also a personal trainer, just like Julie. Nutrition is also a big passion of mine. It's something I know a lot about. That is very prevalent in my life, and I like to help others with as well. So I'm really excited to do this episode and give some more insight.
Yeah. So yeah, Shoshana and I are both, like she said, personal trainers. One of the most struggling topics that clients have is nutrition because they come into the gym and more than half the time they are giving it their all and they just don't get it. Oh, but I did really well and I went really hard and I lifted really heavy. And it's like, but what did you eat? So there's a lot of nutrition. I guess haze is the best word. Not a lot of people do. They don't know where to start. So I posted a question box and I got some questions for you guys, and we're just gonna tackle them one at a time. And we're gonna kind of let the conversation go where it needs to go. And hopefully you can take what you need from this because we definitely want to help you. So the first question, how many calories should women eat? There is none. There is no set number for calories that just women should specifically be eating.
Everyone's body is so incredibly different. There's literally no answer for this at all whatsoever. You could eat the same amount as a man. You could eat more than a man. Like it doesn't, everyone's body is different, and it just depends on your energy expenditure and all kinds of other things as well. So there's no one number.
No, just because you're a woman doesn't mean you need to eat more or less than a male or of somebody who associates as non-binary. You literally need to eat enough to fuel your body. My favorite phrase when it comes to nutrition is food is fuel. And something I tell my clients a lot is that you need to think of your body as a car. You need to put the right gas in your car or it won't go. Like I can't put a gallon of milk in my car because then it's not going to go. I need to put gas. I need to put fuel. So it's the same thing as like your body. If you are exercising right and you're really trying to take care of yourself, but then you go home and you have a lot of greasy, heavy food, you're now not going to feel good and you didn't fuel your body right. You need to make sure that however many calories you're eating I would say enough calories. First of all, that's a huge problem that I saw a lot. And I still have some of my friends will tell me, oh, but I'm eating, this is going to kill Shoshana. I'm eating 1,200 calories. I'm not losing weight. Fun fact, 1,200 calories is the amount that the average elementary schooler is eating. If you are a 28-year-old woman and you're eating 1,200 calories, you're lifting weights, you're going to the gym and you're exercising, but you're wondering why you're not losing weight, it is because you are not fueling your body properly and you're not giving yourself enough calories. Now, I'm going to pause myself there because I also don't want you to take that as now you can eat whatever you want, whenever you want, because there is also too many calories, which leads me to my next question of how many calories can I eat to lose weight? Again, same thing. It depends on your body. The amount of calories that Shoshana needs to lose weight is going to be different than the amount of calories that I need to lose weight. Do you
And
want
in
to?
order to lose weight, you just need to be in a calorie deficit. So whatever that means for you, however much energy your body is expending during the day, you need to be eating under that amount and you will lose weight. So as long as you can figure out, you can Google online like an energy expenditure calculator, figure out how much your body is burning during the day and at rest, and then that way you can figure out how much you should be eating.
So tell them what that means. What is a deficit?
So deficit means that you're consuming less calories than you are burning,
Mhm. So
which should signal that you would be losing weight.
exactly. And how can you tell if you're not in a deficit?
Then you're not losing any weight.
Not losing weight, you're not seeing any progress, and physically, a lot of people want to use the scale, and the scale is not a bad thing either. But I would say be cautious of that because I know I can speak on behalf of women. Our bodies fluctuate so frequently with our hormones, with your sleep patterns, with honestly, even the amount that you've lifted that week. Like if you lifted really heavy that week, you could be putting on more water weight. I don't love the scale.
I don't love the scale. I don't own a scale. I think it's misleading also because if you're working out and lifting consistently in the gym, you might weigh more than when you started purely because you're strength training and gaining muscle.
I think that's well, and that's the thing too is when you gain weight because you're gaining muscle, everyone sees that number and then they freak out. I,
Exactly.
I think I posted a photo one time of me at 160 pounds, like day one, Julie. Like I'm talking 2015, Julie, to 160 pounds, which is what I am right now. And they just looked totally different because it has absolutely nothing to do with that number. Now, I will say though, for some, that works. I have some friends that are religious by the scale and they love it, and some clients that are probably a little bit more on the heavier side. So they like to use the scale,
Hmm.
but I still would be so cautious with the scale. I think you can
And it
eat.
can be such a bad habit to get into that your mind is constantly focused on a number when there's so much more that's just means so much more than a number.
Absolutely. I would 1000% rather you focus on the quality of your food and what you're actually eating versus how much weight you're physically losing. Because with nutrition, again, I want to go back to the word fuel. You are fueling your body. And when you don't fuel your body, you will notice potentially, some like the
You can get like a lot of hormonal imbalances. You can honestly, like, if you're for a women, you can get impacts to your cycle. Like you can get all kinds of stuff that is honestly, sometimes like symptoms of being sick
Hmm.
because you're not feeling your body.
Exactly. And I don't know, I feel like I see that question. It's just like, how many calories can I eat to lose weight? And it just triggers me because it's like,
Yeah, same.
I just want you to eat because you need to eat. And B, you won't make any progress if you don't eat right.
And
I
I have a client that she does everything right. She works out. She works out every single day. She does a class, she does a hike, she trains with me. All of these things. I've gone over her nutrition with her. She eats well, probably a little bit under what she should be, but still eats well. And she's not losing any weight because of a hormonal imbalance. So
Mhm.
everyone is so different. Her nutrition calorie breakout didn't matter really in this case because she's having a hormonal issue.
Oh yeah, and stress 1000%. When you're not eating right, your stress goes up, and then your stress is going to now impact the way your body is. And I remember when I was at my most stressed doing the exact same thing that I'm doing now, just strength training and eating right, I put on 20 pounds. I don't want people to be so focused on the calories. I do know that there's a benefit to it, especially if you are brand new to nutrition. I just would say my best advice to you is to educate yourself. Figure out what are calories per se. What do I need to be eating? And maybe we can go down that route. Like, what would you say is a healthy, balanced diet?
Yeah. And honestly, just like what makes up a healthy, balanced diet? Because I feel like a lot of times people look at foods and they're like, okay, is this healthy? Is this something I should be eating? And I feel like there's a lot of like unknown or unanswered questions about lots of foods because people just don't understand really what they should be putting in their bodies.
Right. So let's do that instead, because I think a lot of these questions actually I don't mind getting them, and I like to answer everybody's questions, but the more I'm reading them, the more they are about how can I lose weight? How can I gain muscle? How can I make sure I'm in a deficit? I want to talk more about making sure that you are eating enough and eating right.
Yeah,
And
because that'll lead to those answers to all of those questions. So it's really the how.
exactly. Because another one on here is getting back after vacation. That is a big one. And I know a lot of people freak out when they come back from vacation because they've had a lot of heavy food. Or, like, I know for myself, when I went to Jamaica, the food was not good. Sorry to anybody who went to Jamaica and had good food. I guess I went to the wrong place.
Ugh, that sucks.
Let's not even talk about Jamaica. That's just.
Yeah. Too soon.
But when you come back from vacation, usually you're not really thinking about what you're eating. It totally is possible to either track or be mindful of your food when you're on vacation, but that's definitely not the time where it should be your number one goal. I know for a fact that if you obsess too much about that, from personal experience on vacation, you then could lead to more patterns like binge eating on vacation, which is then going to make you feel even worse. So if you are currently on vacation and you're listening to this and you are somebody who is thinking the same thing, please enjoy your vacation right now and don't worry about your food. Pick food that's going to make you feel good. That's the best thing I can say to you. And then when you get back, here's what I want you to focus on. I want you to focus on proteins, fruits, vegetables, healthy carbs. So I'm not talking about like oil covered potato chips, and healthy fats too. So those are the five main food categories. I'm missing some other things as well, but those are the main things I want you to focus on. And I want you to think about your plate every day when you're eating. Are you having a little bit of everything that you need? If you look at it and you see a lot more pasta, or you see maybe honestly too much protein, because too much protein is a thing too, I want you to have a balanced plate. And I want you to think to yourself, is this food going to make me feel good too? Something I would recommend doing is starting with a food journal. I think I even have like my old journal from when I first started before my Fitness Pal, because to me, my Fitness Pal was really overwhelming at first.
I think for my clients it's overwhelming as well because our the gym I work for, they suggest that we use MyFitnessPal for all of our clients, but like it can seem tedious, it can seem daunting, and there's just like sometimes a lack of understanding too with older clients as well. So I feel like there's other and better ways that it can be done.
Oh, 100%. Especially, I'm thinking too, when you start to get too attached to it, and then you start to hit the point
Yeah.
okay, I got a pasta salad from this organic market and it's healthy because it's organic, right? And
Hmm.
because it's an organic pasta salad, I should be able to track it somewhere. And then when it's not on my fitness pal, you freak out and now you've lost it. And then hence the binge eating.
Yeah, honestly, I don't really track what I eat because I feel like I know my body, I know what it needs, I know around kind of where I want to be. But if I ever do, I have an Excel, just a plain Excel sheet. I just call it food log. It's saved on my work computer, and if I'm bored during the day, I'll just kind of like go through, Google a couple things that I know I always eat, and just kind of get a range and an idea. But like by no means am I going out and like tracking every single thing because I think that can also get to be a little bit mentally exhausting.
Definitely obsessive. And that's where I'm hesitant to go over these kinds of things with everybody. Yes, I have my nutrition coaching certification. And yes, Shoshana and I have been working on our own nutrition goals and everything for years, but we're definitely not licensed professionals. We are not registered dietitians or
Hmm.
nutritionists. So please take everything that you hear with a not necessarily with a grain of salt, but with a mindset knowing that we just want to help you. And this is just advice. So if there is something that works for you, maybe you do like per doctor's orders need to be on a 1200 calorie diet for some reason, or you need to be doing a certain thing instead of another. Definitely listen to your doctor before you listen to me and Shoshana. But for those of you who just need advice, this is where I would start.
Exactly. And like while I say that tracking can become obsessive and like it's not necessary to put every single thing, I know for some people who need to figure out what's best for their body that they do need to track every single thing because it's important for them to figure out like, maybe what is a problem in their diet. So until you really understand that and you get what you should be eating for your body, that could be a helpful tool for sure.
100%. I mean, I know for myself, before I knew what I was doing, I knew that the big macronutrients are proteins, fats, and carbs. I remember learning that fruits and vegetables were carbs, like on my fitness pal, and I was like, wow, mind blowing. But that's where I started too. I started with the food journal and then I moved on to my fitness pal because I wanted to be able to grow muscle. So I knew, okay, I need to get more protein into my diet. I might need to be eating a little bit more because I'm exercising a little bit harder. And when I did that, it then became almost just natural. Like I knew the foods I needed to be eating. I knew if I was hungry, what kinds of snacks I should be eating. And you really just start to build that muscle in itself, like the nutrition muscle in your mind. You start to know what you should be eating. You start to know what kind of foods do and don't work for you. Definitely listen to your body too. I would say if there's any foods that you're eating and you are immediately gassy, bloated, you have diarrhea, you don't feel good, please don't eat that again. Because I have clients, and it's just a funny story, but I have clients who have come to me and say, oh, but it just sucks because, this food is like a hard no for me, but I just love eating it.
And
Again,
you're not going to help yourself if you make yourself feel bad. And also, it can go the other way where you see that XYZ food is so good for you, or it's a great substitute for this, but you eat it and you feel tired, you feel bloated, you feel gross. Stop eating that. There's
step.
something else you can have instead. Just because X person on TikTok said this is what you should have after the gym doesn't mean that that's what you should have after the gym.
I don't even want to begin with the TikTok.
That's a whole other rabbit hole. Yeah.
Whole other episode on who to trust and who not to trust.
Yeah.
Say again, trust your doctor, trust somebody with a certification. Again, I have my nutrition coaching certification, but I can only coach you. I can't write a grocery list for you and tell you that this is what you must be getting, but I could make like a suggestion if we were out grocery shopping and you were to say, hey, Julie, I really like crackers, but I want like some better options other than Ritz crackers. What is something you can suggest? And I would say, hey, okay, perfect. Well, if you want the lower carb crackers, these are awesome because they're cauliflower crackers. If you want like a gluten-free cracker, then there's this kind of a cracker. But I would never tell you you need to be eating X amount of protein and you need to be eating this and you need to avoid this because again, everybody's body is so different. And I think if that's like the main if there is anything from this podcast that I want people to know, is that nutrition is individual and everyone's body is different. So again, Shoshana and I could eat the exact same thing for the day, and my body might be like, F this, but her body would be like, that was amazing. And I feel so good.
I was
So
just about to say the exact same thing, that we could eat the same thing and just react completely different.
exactly. I mean, and it's so hard because in the end, everybody just wants to feel good. They want to look good. I personally believe in the 80-20 rule. I really do think it's your nutrition over your not over your exercise, but I really think if you were to exercise right every day, but you ate like shit every day, you will not see any results. However, if you focused on fueling your body properly and just moved when you could, I think that person would see more results than the other person.
It's really honestly about consistency. So 80% of the time you're consistently eating well, fueling your body. And then 20% of the time you're having those fun foods, whatever you want, and that kind of goes back to the vacation question. That's the 20% of the time where you don't need to be worrying about it, because the rest of the time you are consistent, you know what you should be doing, and you'll get back home and you'll get back into your routine.
Exactly. And with the question that I kind of skipped over on purpose that said, what foods are a hard no? Nothing. Nothing is a hard no unless I would say nothing is a hard no unless you know for a fact you have a bad relationship with it. If there is a food that really triggers you, emotionally, physically, like it makes you really, really sick, or you really don't like it, or, you have a hard time, I would say even controlling yourself around it. I would even say no if you have a hard time controlling yourself around it. I would just say practice moderation when it comes to that one. But so let's say this, unless there's a food that you know for a fact you shouldn't be eating. Like Shoshana has celiac disease, so she knows for a fact that she needs to avoid gluten. So certain foods we know for our bodies are a hard no. If you know that there's food that just makes you gassy, like broccoli, for example,
Hmm.
that broccoli, cauliflower, there's a word for those foods. Are they very
Cruciferous?
cruciferous? Very
Is
cruciferous.
that it?
I think so.
No, wait.
Cruciferous vegetables are vegetables of the, oh fuck, I cannot pronounce that.
Actually, I think uh kale has that, is like in that group, and I think that can cause kidney stones. Like
It
too
is.
much of it.
Brussels sprouts, broccoli, but wow, literally all the greens, guys, be careful. Cauliflower, cabbage, kale, green garden cress, bok choy, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, mustard plant, and similar green vegetables. It says can cause gastrointestinal discomfort, including bloating and gas. These veggies are nutritious, but also very hard to digest when eaten raw. So basically, again, there isn't a no food, and I'm not telling you now to not eat vegetables. I'm just telling you to be careful with the foods that you're eating because your body specifically may not like it. And there is absolutely no point in eating a bowl of cauliflower and bok choy just because it's a vegetable if your body doesn't like it. Same thing with fruit. There's I think, a lot of myths going around about fruit and how it's too sugary to be having. Listen here. Shoshana and I could eat an entire watermelon, and I would love for somebody to come at me for that because there is absolutely nothing wrong with fruit just because it's higher in sugar. Fruit is nature's candy, guys. And I 100% would rather you go for the fruit for a snack than say, you know what, I binged on a whole bag of chips. Because A, it's better for you, and B, you're going to feel better when you have it. Now, again, I'm also going to say don't neglect the chips. If you are somebody who is constantly stopping yourself from eating certain foods because they are, again, quote, quote, bad for you,
Because if
I
you don't have that stuff ever, you're gonna just one day have it and eat so much of it, you're gonna get sick and feel disgusting. Like, you need to have that balance so you're not feeling like you're craving constantly that food.
Eating disorders are no joke. And I think that's honestly why I avoided the nutrition topic for a while, is just because there really is no one right or wrong way to be eating. You should do the research. Do what I did and get a certification if you can, where you educate yourself on the foods that typically make our bodies feel good, that are shown by science to make our bodies feel good, and learn, don't be afraid to be a student and start from ground one. Because I'll tell you what, I know growing up in my house, it was not always healthy food. My dad has the biggest sweet tooth. And sometimes dinners were, super salty hot dogs and potato chips and ice cream. And here we are. So you don't have to be perfect. I still like hot dogs and some potato chips and ice cream sometimes. You don't have to be perfect. And I really just think it's about educating yourself on what our bodies need and what they should be having, and then practicing moderation with the foods that maybe we don't need as much of.
I think you still need to have fun in your life,
Yeah.
enjoy those things. Also, enjoy when you're out at restaurants and things. I think that's another thing that's important because if I'm going out to eat, I'm not going to get probably a salad. I'm not going to get, I mean, maybe if there's like a really good one with lots of stuff in it, maybe, but like I'm going out to eat, I'm looking for a pizza, gluten free, of course. I'm looking for pasta, I'm looking for tacos. Like I want to experience a restaurant, I want to eat good foods. Like same thing with travel. Like I am again back to the 80-20 thing at home in my routine, consistently eating foods that fuel me. But like I want to have those fun foods and I want to enjoy.
Absolutely. And two things came to my mind when you said that. With the 80-20 thing, the 20% doesn't mean the 20% of the year that if you are 20% of the year on vacation.
No, right.
It means you could literally do your day. Like every day you can eat 80-20. That's actually what I do right now.
Me
I
too.
Yeah, I kind of vaguely track. Again, I don't want you guys to do this just because I do it. I want you to find a way that's going to work for you, whether that means tracking, whether that means intuitive eating, whether that means a food journal, or going to a nutritionist or a registered dietitian, whatever that means for you. I currently don't religiously track my food. When I went through a deficit for my wedding, because that is something that I personally wanted to do, I was tracking. I wanted to make sure that I was hitting my protein goal. I didn't really care so much where it fell carbs and fats wise, but I did want to make sure I was hitting my protein goal because I was trying super hard to keep my muscle on. So that's an important thing too. Yes, there's a lot behind protein. Oh my gosh, we didn't even talk about protein.
Oh my gosh. It's a whole other.
We'll get to that after this. But at that point, I was religiously tracking. And right now, I'm at a point where I use the 80-20 rule daily. So if I ate very well that day, like I made my smoothie that I like to have in the morning, and I had a very clean lunch because I was proud and that's what I wanted. Yeah, I like a reward, and I will have either some cookie dough or I'll have like one of those Yasso ice cream bars. But
Mhm.
that's my treat. Or sometimes it's not a healthy cookie dough or Yasu bar. It's literally I'm going to go to Carmen's and I'm going to get some Italian ice and some custard that is not low sugar or low fat because my body deserves it and we deserve it, and we can't always be punishing ourselves. I don't even know how to like properly say it, but we can't
We
be.
just you want to be able to enjoy everything. You don't always need to go for the healthier thing. Like that's just again balance. Like you have to like every night before bed I have Hershey's chocolate nuggets that have the toffee in them just cuz I just love them. Like that's just something I love to eat, so I eat it. I love cheese. Cheese is my favorite food, so I eat cheese every day.
Yes,
I eat it, I have a cheese stick with my breakfast. Like it's just foods that I know that I like. So I'm going to incorporate them in my diet.
I'm laughing that you have a cheese stick with your breakfast.
I said it so serious. I have a cheese stick with my breakfast. But yeah,
That's what you like. And
yeah,
you helped me get the thought. I was going to say it makes no sense to live a life of constant restriction, because I'm going to tell you this, and this is going to make you guys a little depressed. look back when you're 90 and just say, I tracked my food my entire fucking life. And all I did
Yeah.
was eat the healthy cookie dough. And I never had, a little bowl when I was making it with my kids one day, or I never went out and just ate the cake with my husband because we just wanted to. That's depressing.
Yeah, like you need to like I have so many good memories, I know, just like with my husband just eating, like trying new foods. Like tonight we just had tacos. Like it's fun and it's like that's bonding too over food.
It is. Again, oh my God, we are on the same wavelength, and this makes me so happy. I was
Of
going to,
course we are.
of course, food food brings memories and it creates memories. I'm thinking literally right now of my wedding and the food we had at my wedding. And we had crab cakes and filet, and they were 1000% cooked in like not healthy butter. And when I say not healthy butter, I mean like not the light butter, or not the, I don't even know, like not
It's can't
free.
believe it's not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was probably regular butter, salted butter, and that's okay because it was delicious. And now I have amazing memories from that. And yes, you can also make memories of, yes, you know what? Like me and my sister are trying to eat right. So the other day we made these really healthy pumpkin muffins. That's good memories too.
And
I'm
see,
just,
you have a memory of both things. So it's like
yes,
you had the crab cakes and the steak, but you didn't have that 12 nights after. You didn't have that for a consistent 2 weeks, but you can make your pumpkin muffins later and you'll have the memories of both things.
exactly. I want you guys to find a way to create healthy relationships with food. And if you need support, I don't want you to be afraid to reach out. And if you don't know where to go, message me and we can help you. But to live a life where you're constantly restricting yourself and you're constantly labeling foods as good and bad is not worth living. It's
No,
not. And you will forever live in this tug of war mindset when it comes to food.
I really, and I've said it a bunch of times, but balance is the key. I meal prep for my week. I make sure, I have healthy breakfast, lunch, most dinners, but then like I'm not really thinking about the weekend. I'm not thinking about, you know, I'm probably thinking about where I want to go eat on the weekend, like what food I want to have. What do I want to get a pizza? Just enjoy. Just make you have your routine, or I think being in a routine is important, but you have that, you do that most of the time, you can have some joy as well.
100%. I definitely recommend prepping if you can. I have been meal prepping for years and it sounds really tedious. I know Shoshana has too. It sounds so tedious, but at the end of the day, I'm so thankful for it because I'll tell you what, this week I did not meal prep because I was lazy. I did not go to the grocery store because I thought I had enough food. And I've been trying not to buy too much food because I've been like, oh, I keep throwing away food. And is I didn't meal prep because I thought I had enough stuff that I could just like throw things together. This week I was so off because I didn't meal prep and because my routine was thrown off. And then I ran out of my protein powder and that made me mad because then
Ugh.
my shake. Don't be afraid to prep. It's a pain in the ass when you're doing it, but at the end of the day, you are so damn grateful that you did that because when you are hungry, you are less likely to say, "Oh, I'm going to order Chipotle again," or "Oh, I'm going to do DoorDash again." You're going to say, "Oh my gosh, I have this pasta with shrimp and zucchini and I'm so excited to eat it."
I put aside literally like 2 hours on a Sunday, knock it out, and the entire week I have my breakfast, my lunch, for the most part, dinner ready to go. And I'm from going to the office, like that is so, I don't know what I would do otherwise. Like I'm not gonna do that
Exactly.
day of.
No, no. The only times that I will make things in the moment is when I want pancakes. I
Oh,
love
I do that too. I do protein pancakes when I work from home because like I have the extra time, so that is really nice.
a lot of people obsess over, am I getting enough protein? You probably are. Unless you are totally neglecting your protein, you probably are getting enough. A lot of people who exercise say that you should be having a gram per pound. But for some people, especially if you are heavier than you would like to be and you weigh more, maybe 220 grams of protein is too much. So don't be afraid to make it less. Again, it's so hard to give like specific advice over a podcast when it comes to nutrition specifically because it's just so individual. Protein is important, but it only needs to be about 30% of the calories that you eat. So if you are eating about 2,000 calories, I believe that's only 150 grams of protein. And I know that because that's what I was eating for a bit. I did not just come up with that math off the top of my head. But you need enough to maintain muscle mass, but you don't need to make it your entire dinner. So if you are hungry, yeah, maybe go for a protein bar or go for a protein shake. This is another topic that I feel like we're just scratching the surface at because then there's a
I
whole
was just gonna say.
yes, there's a whole other part on, well, what do I need to be doing with protein bars and protein shakes and why protein? Oh my gosh.
I
I
know
think
we could like get way into that, but like I've recently been like cutting out protein bars entirely because like I know I'm eating it to get more protein, but like that shit is so processed. There's so many chemicals in it. Like I feel like there's better ways for me to get in my protein intake, but that's again another topic. I do think it's important that whenever I eat pretty much anytime, I try to incorporate some food that has some amount of protein because it keeps you full and that's what keeps your body satisfied.
I don't know everybody's body. And it's really hard to give nutrition advice to thousands of people when you don't know what everyone's going through. Everyone has different gut microbiomes. Again, what works for you might not work for me, but I would say the general rules of thumb are get your fruits and veggies in. We're going to sound just like your mom when you were little, but those are important. Those have the micronutrients that you need to have a healthy body. Forget losing weight or gaining weight or building muscle or whatever. Those are the foods that make you feel good. They're the foods that help you when you're sick or prevent you from getting sick. Those are the foods that you need. You need fruits and vegetables in your life. Protein is important, but it's not the end all be all. Don't be afraid. I would say also don't be afraid to track if you want to, but if you don't have a healthy relationship with it, feel free to use things like a food journal, or if it's intimidating, use a food journal, or just intuitively eat. That's the hardest, though. I would say intuitive eating is the hardest, especially for people who are likely to binge eat or who
Mhm.
don't understand portion control.
Especially if you're exercising and you're feeling like you're hungry,
Yes.
but maybe you think you've eaten enough today or whatever, just eat. Like listen to your body, especially if you've been moving. And also don't be afraid of carbs. That's
Yeah.
something I feel like people are like, oh, I don't want the extra carbs. Like I'm gonna take, I'm gonna have one piece of bread instead. Just carbs are fuel. Carbs are how you get through your workout. Carbs are how your body runs essentially. I mean, in simple terms, it's just you need them to function and they're amazing. So don't neglect them.
Carbs are your energy source. According to a lot of studies that I've read, the average person, again, doesn't matter male, female, non binary, does not matter. The average person should be eating 45 to 65% of their diet per day should be carbs. So if you guys want the like general percentages, according to my NASM certification, when I got my nutrition coaching certification, it was 45 to 65% carbs, 25 to 35% fat, and then roughly 30% for protein. You should have about zero point 0.8 grams per body weight. So if that helps at all and you know how to do the math from there, go for it. Again, we're not going to give out any you should be eating this much and you should be eating this much and you should be eating this much because everybody's activity level is different. Everyone's health conditions are different. But I would say don't be afraid of the carbs for sure. Carbs are, like Shoshana said, your energy source. Carbs are good. And we want to go back to not living a life of deprivation and restriction. Where would you start? Like if someone were to ask you, what do you think of when you think of nutrition? What would you say?
I think of it as fueling your body, putting in food to your body that is nourishing and enjoyable and works for you.
hmm I couldn't have said that any better. I think of what do I need to get through my day feeling my best? What do I need to hit my goals? So, again, for those who want the physique goals, what do I need to make sure that I am losing weight? Or what do I need to make sure I am building more muscle? Or what do I need to make sure I'm doing a full body recomposition? What do I need to make me feel good at the end of the day and have me go to bed not feeling deprived? That's what I think of when I think of nutrition.
Like, do people really just be like, what is the set number I need to eat? Like, do they people really not have that understanding?
I think a lot of the problem with nutrition is the lack of education. And I think
Yeah.
people assume that literally they assume that if you eat this and you look this way, that I will also do that too. Because if you're squatting and you're deadlifting and you're doing 225 pounds and I'm going to now do 225 pounds, I also will look the same as you. And that just blows my mind because it doesn't matter how many times that like I'm gonna throw Ryan under the bus. But like, it doesn't matter how many times that like Ryan and I go out in the sun. We could both be tanning for 3 hours and I will get tanner than him.
Right.
What I mean?
Everyone is so different and everyone has like there's girls who have like PCOS and they have to do like lifting heavy and stuff isn't what's best for them. Like low intensity is, but if maybe you did low intensity, that's not going to do much for you. Like
Mm.
everybody is different. Everybody is so incredibly different.
It just that's why it's so hard to talk about because it's like, I don't know what to tell you other than and what to tell everybody other than you need to pay attention to the way certain foods affect your body. If
Yeah,
it
and I feel like it's more so just like general I feel like if general knowledge is helpful for people who might follow you like understanding that you can't just blanket number or you can't just give a blanket eat XYZ because of everyone being different. And I mean that might be the takeaway.
I know for myself, I for a while in time didn't have like the best relationship with food, but it was never quantifiable or qualifiable to be an eating disorder. It was
And
always
I
just
almost think that I feel like everyone kind of has not everyone, I shouldn't say everyone. A lot of people kind of have that when they start to get into fitness and like nutrition and stuff like, okay, now I'm into fitness. I love going to the gym. I have to eat like this.
yes,
And
and
they
obsessive.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
Actually, in high school, do you remember Miss Doherty? She
yeah,
was the yeah, so she was a nutrition teacher, and I remember the very because that was my favorite class. I remember the very first day of that class, she said to us, "What is everybody look at first on a nutrition label?" And like people raised their hands, and everyone said calories. And she said, "Actually, the first thing that you should always look at is the ingredients." I
uh,
was like, "Whoa,
quality versus quantity.
yeah."
Oh my
And
god.
like that, I can tell you that stuck with me literally forever. And that day, I literally went home and I looked at every single thing just because I was interested, like purely like
Right.
I don't remember having ever looked at calories like in high school or anything like that on a label, but I was just like, wow, that's so interesting that there's more that I should be looking at besides numbers.
I would have 100% said calories.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy too is I had a conversation with a friend recently and she said that she genuinely didn't know that the calories on the back were for a portion of the product.
Oh, so she thought it was the whole like container
She
or
thought
like,
that, and I'm just going to use the exact same example she told me. She thought that if she got a bag of banana chips, the entire bag was 150 calories.
hey, I mean, if no one tells you that, I mean, honestly, being able to read a label, like that's something that was in our course, like in our personal training course. Like someone needs to tell you that, you know?
Right. And it's not fair to assume that things that are so natural for you are natural for everybody else. Because especially for
Right.
somebody with a different background or somebody who never cooked in their life, or they're used to having other people cook for them, or they just never looked at it. They're like, oh, I need pasta. This looks like a nice box. I need Alfredo sauce. This looks like a good, this one tastes the best. You can't blame them. Like you said, like no one taught them that you need to actually go through the back and read it. They probably just think it's like a barcode and a sticker, and I don't really need to be reading it.
And I
It's
ask my clients, I say, "Do you know how to read a label?" Because I don't like to assume, and then if you're struggling with your nutrition and you don't actually know how to read the label, like, how are we gonna fix that?
right. Or measuring their food too. Like I could say all day long, I think it's a good idea to generally portion your food, maybe not with a scale or with like measuring cups, but eyeballing. But some people might hear the word eyeballing and be like, what do you mean? Like
What is that? Like,
I think that looks good, or how do I know what looks good? Or what am I supposed to do if I think that this is appropriate, but actually it's twice the size that I should be having? Or I think that this is enough, but really that's not like nothing. And I need to be having double that. So I feel like unless you are getting coached one on one and somebody is sitting down with you and they are asking like for specific help with specific goals, nutrition is just one of those topics that it's very hard to talk about with just like an umbrella, other than you need to make sure that you're eating food that makes you feel good. Like I feel like that's the one thing I could tell everybody, and that it's not always about the number on the scale or the number of the calories that you're eating.
I also kinda like to sometimes compare it to going shopping. Like, we could go to a store together, we could try on the same shirt. It might look amazing on you, and it might look like shit on me. And it's just I look better in a different shirt, and that's amazing.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that shirt was made for you and this shirt was made for somebody like me.
Yep.
It makes me like mad almost too. Like I don't know why it makes me so mad, but I think it makes me mad because society has turned nutrition into this.
Almost it's like crazy, like fixation. Like,
It's
not even that, but like,
And there's a word that I don't have right now, but society has made nutrition A, more complicated than it needs to be,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
B, like this daunting topic of like, if you're
Mhm.
not eating this shake, you will not lose weight. And if you're not having this, then you will not look good. And if you don't eat this, then you won't get abs. And it's like, really?
No. And that's also marketing. Like,
Yeah.
companies market their products like, "This is how you will lose weight. You're gonna buy my product." Like, there's so many different marketing strategies for food and beverage companies that, like, focus on weight loss and health and wellness, even though the product might not be good at all.
Which takes it right back to the ingredients thing.
Exactly.
You with your say the thing with your protein bars though. Like what happened when you started reading what was in your protein bars?
Well, I see all the time, every Instagram, TikTok, and like, I know for myself I wanna eat them because I wanna hit my protein goal. But you read the ingredients on there and you say, "Okay, great. This is 24 grams of protein. Amazing, quick way to get in my protein." But I look down and there's sucralose, there's aspartame, there's, you know, dyes, there's all kinds of stuff. And like, if I'm really trying to make choices that will make my body feel good, just because that has a high protein content doesn't mean I should be putting all that in my body.
I do try to be cautious of the quality of the protein bars that I have, but I don't have them that often. I only have
No, and I'm still gonna like, I'm not never gonna eat them. Like, it's something that, especially like being gluten free, I don't always know if there's gonna be something available for me. So like, I always have one with me just in case like I'm hungry. So like, it is a very quick, easy thing. I just don't think I need to incorporate it like daily.
Mhm. Another thing we can touch on too is organic versus non-organic.
Like, I don't feel that there's any need to buy organic unless you like that's your prerogative.
I will tell you what, I learned this with my nutrition coaching certification, and it's right there when you type it into Google too. The only difference is one has less pesticides than the other. And yes,
Yeah.
you should, if you can live in a world where you can afford organic groceries,
Mhm.
yes, now you know that your strawberries are, less likely to have pesticides, less likely to be genetically modified, but nutrition wise, it's the exact same thing.
Same
So
thing. I'm not going to pay double. So I don't buy that usually.
it says that the safety rules for the highest levels of residue allowed on conventional produce have changed. I don't know if that's a good
Mhm.
thing or a bad.
Yeah. For like which way?
Right. It just says, are they safer? Well, now I need to click on this. According to the Mayo Clinic, it says compared with produce grown usually from conventional methods, organically grown produce has lower levels of pesticide residue, but not none at all. Oh, it says the overall risk of contamination of organic foods with bacteria is the same as conventional foods.
Okay. There you go.
Interesting. Huh. Yeah, it says now the only downside it says to buying organic is the cost. It's just so expensive. So
So expensive.
if you can buy organic, lucky you. If not, don't worry about it. Some of the tips it has are making sure just that you clean your fruits and vegetables. Again, you're reading your labels carefully. Um, don't just rinse your fruit, which I'm very guilty of. Like
I was just
actually
going to say I need to do better about that for sure.
actually soak it in like the salt and the baking
Hmm.
soda and all the other things to get the pesticides out. Now, you'll never remove all the pesticides, but if you can remove as much as possible, that would be great. Um, Throw away the outer leaves of your green leafy vegetables because those are usually the ones that are the most contaminated. And actually, when you peel it back, you find that the inside looks fresher anyway. Just
Yeah. I mean, I have been doing it all my life and here I am. So I'm going to continue because groceries are expensive enough and I don't think I can pay double to buy organic.
should you eat gluten free, dairy free, etc., if you are not?
No, actually, there was a study that came out, and this was on the news a few years ago, that, and I can't speak to dairy free, but if you do not have celiac disease in particular, you should not be gluten free. There's no reason. I mean, if that's your preference, like, again, your prerogative, but like, there is no health benefit to doing so.
So, if you can have gluten, there is nothing wrong with having gluten. Now, if you have a gluten intolerance, meaning it just kind of makes you feel funky, but you don't have um, celiac disease per se, you got to follow what your doctors say, but you can have it and not have anything like life threatening happen inside.
And that just kind of goes back to like eating what makes you feel good and understanding your body.
It's the same thing with dairy. If you have a dairy allergy, you really should avoid it. Dairy is one of the common allergies. I think it's in like the top 5, if I'm correct.
I think so.
A lot of people grow out of them. And then, surprisingly enough, the same thing, you can grow out of a dairy allergy and you can grow into a dairy allergy. I thought I had a dairy allergy. I do not. I just have a dairy intolerance. So I'm lactose intolerant and I can only have minimal amounts of dairy. However, if I'm correct, I also believe that we're not supposed to have too much dairy anyway. You
Yeah.
like your body just doesn't need that much of it. But again, to each their own. If you want your ice cream and your yogurt and your cheese and it makes you feel good, go for it. If you are like me and you can have maybe a small cup of yogurt before you're immediately gassy and bloated, that's okay too. But I can eat the dairy and not worry about like going into anaphylactic shock.
Right.
I think we did it.
I know. I think so too. I feel like we covered a lot.
We did. And we're definitely going to have another one. I'm going
Yeah.
to put another question box again, and we're going to do our best to answer everything again as authentically as we can. But I think the hardest part about this episode is just keeping in mind that what works for you might not work for somebody else. Nutrition is individual. I can't tell you what you should or shouldn't be eating. I can give you advice. Shoshana can give you advice, but we, at the end of the day, want you to not be afraid to educate yourself, to not be afraid to do research. Don't do what your favorite TikTok influencer does. do what works for your body. Try some things out. Like, I'm not saying if they say that they love this protein powder that you shouldn't buy it, but you can buy it too. But if you're only having it because they have it, don't do that. If you're having it because you love the taste and it makes you feel good, then that's great. Go for it. How awesome is it that you were able to find somebody who promoted something that genuinely works for you? And just listen to your body. If something isn't working, don't force it. If you don't like something, don't feel like you need to have it. And if you want more of something, don't be afraid to have more. So we're going to close it there. We'll come back with more nutrition on part 2. And I appreciate everybody listening and thank you so much.
Woo, thank you for having me.